Peter, we have to start with Governor DeSantis announcing that Jay Collins, state senator from the Tampa Bay area, is the new lieutenant governor. For those who aren't familiar with him, what should they know?
I think it begins with his service as a military veteran. This is a former Green Beret. He was recruited by Ron DeSantis to run. And it's remarkable and noteworthy that Florida is now the only state in the nation that has its two chief executives, whether they be governor and lieutenant governor or something like that. They're both veterans. And so a veteran-friendly Florida, that was a big point of emphasis in the announcement. Collins does a significant amount of charitable work in disaster recovery, and he also does, and I think this is going to be the story that as people get to know it, they're going to be more and more impressed. He does a lot of the stuff where he goes into hot zones and gets Americans out of them. He's been involved in getting Americans and American students, nationals, et cetera, out of places like what we just saw in Israel and Gaza and in crisis situations like that. So this is put aside the politician, like label, and this is a real dude. This is the real, it's like he's the real thing. That's why, Governor DeSantis, in announcing him, said he's the Chuck Norris of Florida politics. His wife ran for the Hillsborough County School Board. She lost, but she is involved in politics. They are definitely DeSantis people. They're part of that wing he's part of the wing of the Florida Senate that has been in lockstep with DeSantis over the last year and a half as the legislature is kind of, there's been some pushback between the legislature and DeSantis. We're expecting him to eventually announce that he's going to run for governor. I'd say I'll put down a marker and say October 1st. I think you'll see something around then. And that he will run kind of on the DeSantis slate of candidates, running against Byron Donalds in the primary. And so he was introduced as LG, but he was also introduced as as DeSantis's preferred successor.
We're joined now by the publisher of Florida Politics, Peter Schorsch. Why did it take so long for Governor DeSantis to make this pick? Jay Collins was a name that you had mentioned on this show weeks ago as the likely pick for lieutenant governor.
So I'll start and I'll say, I go back to what somebody who worked with Ron DeSantis' gubernatorial campaign does not now, and says that DeSantis's campaign radar has been basically off since the presidential. And that, you saw he had kind of a mixed bag of endorsements on the school board races, but he won the amendments. I think back with the launch, it's in the middle of August. I get it. I think that I would have either done it earlier or I would have done it later. I feel like, nobody I know is paying attention to the news right now. They're doing back to school. They're doing their fantasy football league. I joked on Twitter, they're paying attention to Taylor Swift. I don't know that they probably don't care in the first place, but I don't know that this is the best time. And let's just remember DeSantis, when he announced for president, basically on X, that was not the best situation. That kind of fell apart. So I don't know that DeSantis is great with these things. And then I will also say behind the scenes, there was a lot of talk that Collins was a little bit too eager. What was said to me was DeSantis asked him to be LG. Collins said, great, let's run for governor. And so there was a little bit like Collins was a little aggressive on wanting to get to run for governor when he still had, he needed to walk before he ran. And so I think that was a lot of sources have told me there's been that kind of conflict. And I will say, Collins has said to people I talked to that he wasn't entirely comfortable with the schedule either. He thought he was going to get picked earlier. So there was definitely a little bit of a gap between when he was originally thought to be picked and when he was announced on Monday.
The idea that he is going to be Governor DeSantis's hand-picked successor, that he'll run in the DeSantis lane for the upcoming Republican primary for the 2026 race for governor. Does that basically mean that Casey DeSantis is out?
Yes, but no. I mean, yes, but no. I was talking to some folks that are like, it's going to be interesting to see how much money Collins, because the governor, he is raising money. He's going to probably have to raise money for another marijuana campaign. He's trying to raise money so that he has, a nest for 28. Like, that is a big factor here. So it's going to be interesting to see how much money Collins can run once he opens up a gubernatorial committee. He's got a political committee now. So I feel like it's a little bit of a test drive. Let's see. We did a poll, I want to say about 3 weeks ago. And when you inform the ballot, so it's a little bit of a push poll. When you say that Byron Donalds has been endorsed by Donald Trump, Collins is blown out of the water. And so if you get to March, April, and he's not making headway, maybe the DeSantises decide, wait a second, our best bet to continue the DeSantis legacy is to put in Casey, who does poll well against Donalds, even with the push polling or the informed balloting that we talked about.
Last question for you real quick. Any idea what Trump world thinks about this pick? I
will say yes, they are watching it intensely. I keep hearing from people that the White House is saying 6 months, we're going to take a look at everybody. Blaise Ignolia, CFO, James Utmeyer, Attorney General, et cetera. And we're going to revisit all this. We're going to see who stays in line, who doesn't, and who doesn't, they're going to expect a primary challenge. And so I feel they are getting daily direct updates about Florida politics in the White House. Just like he gets a national security briefing, he basically gets a Florida politics briefing.
All right, the publisher of Florida Politics. It's who we get our Florida Politics briefings from. You can check out all of his work and all of his team's reporting, again, at floridapolitics.com. Peter Schorsch with us each week. Peter, really appreciate the time and insight. Thanks so much.
All right, Ryan. Thank you.